Everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have been doing a lot of reviews, a lot of full faces. I've been talking about a lot of new makeup that I've had, and I just felt like it was time to shop my stash. Pull out some things that I don't talk about as much on camera, that maybe I haven't used in a while, that I love and need to show more love to, and kind of just encourage you to do the same. Because there's reasons that we love things, we get new things, we push them to the back of the drawer, we forget about them, and then when we use them again, we remember why we love them so much. And that's why I love doing these videos. I end up finding things that I will continue to use from now on out and show more love to. I remembered why I bought them in the first place. So I did this kind of neutral warm tone, super easy look. So let's go ahead and get started. I do have some corrector under my eyes, so we'll jump right into foundation. And I thought, because my last video was a review on the new Dior foundation stick, that I would use the Lancome stick that I talked about loving so much, because I haven't used this on camera in a while, even though I do have a video on comparing this with my other Lancome foundations. And quite honestly, this is in the shade 260 Bisque In. Lancome is one of my favorite brands for complexion products. So I'm gonna stripe it on first and then take this fluffy brush and kind of just stipple it in. I have a very large under the skin cystic pimple trying to show its face. I washed my face at like 6 o'clock at night last night. I go back in at 10 to do the remainder of my skincare routine because I break it up into two. And I saw this. It wasn't there at 6. It popped up. I put one of the micro dart patches on it, hoping it would kind of stop it in its tracks, but it's gonna leave a mark. It's one of the ones that's gonna leave a mark. So in that Lancome video, I used 330 in, and both of them work. 330 is just obviously darker. It's more cool toned. This is a true neutral. 330 says it's neutral, but it does come off a little bit cooler on me. I'm completely done with my 330 though, and I'm working on this one. So that shows you how much I love this, because I've actually finished one. So I'm gonna start off doing it like this on the other cheek, and then I'll build up if necessary. This is just a big IT Cosmetics Kabuki brush. No rhyme or reason as to why I picked it up, but it is super fluffy. So if you are gonna use something like this, you don't get as much coverage. I love this foundation so much. So if I did want to build up that coverage, for instance, on this behemoth, I'm gonna take a more dense brush. This is the IT Cosmetics 115. Pick it up from the stick like I did the Dior, and tap it in. I'm gonna put just a little bit more on my cheeks. I wore the original Tante Idol Ultra Wear yesterday. Have nothing bad to say about that. Truly, Lancome foundations, again, are just some of my favorites. So that is the stick foundation. For concealer, I don't know that I've even used this on camera, but I've had it since September of last year. This is the Alley Oop concealer, and they have SPFs, and what else do they have? I tried their tinted SPF or their tinted moisturizer. It was okay. It wasn't worth me really talking about, but I do like this concealer. I am in the shade All Star, and it's pretty yellow, but it ends up working out. And I really only put 2 dots underneath each eye. I'm gonna start out with my, well, I thought this was the BK Beauty one, but it's not. It's Alter Ego has a new brush set that is basically a dupe of the BK Beauty Angie Cotton Flashy set, and this is the Alter Ego 101. And I like to just kind of stipple the concealer in with that, let it sit for a minute, which I have done, and then I'm going to take my BK Beauty 109 and further stipple and blend it out. So this just picks up any product that maybe I don't need, that hasn't dried down to my skin yet, and blends out any of the edges. This is, I would say, a light to medium coverage concealer. It's definitely not full coverage by any means, but it wears really nicely, which is more important to me than coverage. I set my under eyes with my Pat McGrath, and now I'm gonna set my face. Now this powder, I pulled out probably 4 days ago, and I've used it twice since then, and I forgot how much I left it. This is the Hamish Moringa Ceramide Pressed Setting Powder. So this is a K-Beauty brand. It comes with a puff. I don't use the puff. I'm going to use my Anissa multi powder brush. And it's very similar in formula to like the NARS setting powder that's like this. It's almost like you put it on your finger and you can see some, but you don't really know if you have any on the brush. But then you use it to set and it's clear that you have some. Do you see how that just like set down and mattified that side of my face versus this side very quickly? It's a beautiful powder. I've not changed my stance on this. When I first got it and used it on camera, I thought the same thing. Now, it does have a tad bit of a white cast. I don't know if it's gonna come across on camera, but it did lighten my skin just a little bit. So keep that in mind. I don't know that this is universal. You definitely don't need to use as much as I use. I tend to be heavy-handed when it comes to powder. With this powder, it doesn't matter. It sits so beautifully on the skin, but it is something to keep in mind. And we are going to test how well these next two products work over powder because I forgot to use them before I set my face down. They are both cream products. And I have had these since June and I have not talked about them, but they are excellent. Excellent. They're from Nude Envy. I have a cream bronzer and a cream blush. The cream bronzer I have is in the shade Stellar. Looks like this. I'm going to use my Sigma Precision Powder F08 and I am just going to press that where I normally put bronzer. This is just a really good color for me. It's warm, but it's not orange. It blends out beautifully. It works well over powder. I love this brush with it. It's just the perfect size. Just really been enjoying that one. And then this blush, if you need or want a pigmented cream blush, this is something to look into. When I first used this, I was like, whoa, it is so pigmented. I had to go back over with my foundation brush because it was just too much. This is in the shade Ibiza Nude, and I'm just using an e.l.f. liquid blush brush. And I'm tapping, I just tapped a little bit, and then I tapped it on my arm to make sure some came off because that's how pigmented it is. I'm starting up at my temple and working my way down, lightly tapping, because again, this is pigmented. Beautiful peachy shade. I'm tempted to look at their other shades. I don't need a cream blush. I need it like a hole in my head. So maybe I don't need to look at their other shades, but I really love how this applies. I love how pigmented it is. I love that it lasts all day. And then for highlight, I pulled out my Era Perez cream highlighter in the shade Vanilla. No, it's the Vanilla highlighter in the shade Falling Star. And again, I just love a cream highlight. It looks so natural in the skin, especially when you use cream blush, cream bronzer. They just all kind of meld together. This one's a little bit tacky. It's not near as tacky as the Merit or the Westman Atelier or the Victoria Beckham. I feel like it's more tacky when you first apply it, and then it tends to dry down a little bit more than those other three. Okay, for eyes, I have been doing this eye look quite a bit, and one of the products I've only had since May, so it's not truly shot my stash. This one is actually a blush, and I got it in a gift with purchase, so it's this little mini one. It's the Laura Mercier Blush Color Infusion in Ginger. But oh, what a beautiful eyeshadow this makes. I talk all the time about using blush as eyeshadow, and this is the most gorgeous, neutral, leaning a tad bit warm shade for all over. It's definitely like a one and done, or in the crease like I'm doing right now using my Refer 15 Max brush. And then this one is the one I've had since May. I don't think I've shown this on camera. It is from Surratt, and it is their Soufflé eyeshadow in the Ciel d'Or. I know that's not how you pronounce it, at least not in the pretty way, but it is a very gorgeous peachy bronze shade. Now these are unlike any other eye product that I have. I feel like maybe, was it Buxom? It wasn't Buxom. What was it? Started with a B. I don't even think they're in business anymore, but I feel like a long time ago, another brand did something similar to this where it is so weird in texture. It's very bouncy. You almost feel like you aren't picking up any product, but you are. And I like to use my finger for these. You can use a brush, but I just feel like I get the best payoff with my finger, and it's not a ton of payoff. Like the color is there. It's very pretty actually, and I love it with this blush in the crease, but it's not like a metallic shade. It's not something full of glitter or shimmer. I don't know about their other shades, but this one is not. It's just this beautiful, almost wet look to the eye without being super tacky. It does dry down on me. Very easy to use. I've used it by itself for just like a one and done without the crease color, and it's also pretty that way. I just really like it. I'm actually going to be doing almost a full face of Surratt because they sent me a PR box. I bought some things and I have everything but I think powder and bronzer. So I am going to be testing those out, putting some looks together, and I will do a full face of that if you're interested. But I love this eye color. Love it. And it's going to last forever because I feel like I've used it a lot and doesn't even look like a dent's been put in it. And then I'm going to take my Jillian Dempsey kohl eyeliner in the shade Rich Brown and just do what I always do if I'm using a liner. Sloppily apply it and use a dense brush to kind of smudge it out. This is waterproof, so it doesn't have as much playtime as some of my other ones do, but I still have some time to smudge it out before it completely sets down. It does have a smudger like on the other end of it. I just never tend to use those because this brush is my favorite for it. It's a Real Techniques shading brush, and it's the one I use for this step all the time. And then I'm gonna put a little bit underneath, and because I don't have as much playtime, I'm gonna blend that out with that same brush. And then I'm going to go in with a Refer 15 Mini with that blush and just kind of go over that. Not to take away from the brown, but just to kind of add another layer. Mascara is not as easy for me to shop my stash because I try not to have too many of them open at one time. However, I have way more than I would suggest anybody else does, simply for the nature of testing. But I have pulled this one out the past 4 or 5 days, and I love it. It's the Ilia Limitless Lash Mascara. Now, this one, I don't as much use a primer with. Sometimes I'll use my Jane, but it has that type of plasticky brush that I tend to get better results without a primer. And this is kind of what it says it is. It gives me length more so than it does volume, but it's nice. The brush has two ends. One has more of like a separating comb, so it's easy to apply and separate at the same time. Long wearing for me. I have no smudging or flaking throughout the day, but it's super easy for me to remove, which is important. So I'm gonna apply 2 coats of this. So that's 2 coats. See what I mean? It just, the length is insane. I do think they have a volumizing version of this that I have tried, but I prefer this. This was the original. Just makes them fluffy and long, and I really, really like it. And I do use a lash serum. I use Scoro Lash. I get that asked that a lot, which definitely helps. And this just makes them look as long and fluffy as they can be. Now for lips, this is not technically Shop My Stash because I have not used these yet, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna talk about them before I forget. These are the new RMS lipsticks. They sent me over 3 shades. This is the Legendary Serum lipstick, which isn't necessarily new, but they did add new shades, more nude shades, because a lot of people were asking for more nude shades, and these are 3 that they added. So I'm gonna swatch them real quick. This is May, and you twist it from the bottom, and it clicks up. Did you hear that? I don't want to twist it too much, but which is described as a Just Kissed Nude. It's right here. It's definitely, it's got some more, it's like a, I would say it's more of a warm tone. And I didn't realize that in the original, they have one that's named Audrey, which is my youngest daughter's name. I may have to get that just because. This is Eve, which is a natural knockout nude. Describe this one. That's right here. This is also a warm toned. It's got like a little bit more orange in it. And then this one is Jane, which is a Barely There nude. It's definitely the most brown of all of them, but it's also the lightest. Still has a little bit of a warm undertone. So I don't know that there's any like pinky nudes in this collection. Really looking at it, this first one, May, is the most pinky out of all of them, despite it looking to have a warmer undertone on first swatch. And I think I'm gonna use May. Now these are highly pigmented. They are not glossy by any means, so I am gonna put a gloss on top. And because they're so highly pigmented, I'm going to do my tap, which when something's very, very opaque, because I tend to like lighter lipsticks, I tend to just tap it. So I still get the color, just not the level of intensity. So it definitely doesn't look pink on my lips. I think it's just compared to the other ones, it has the most pink undertone. It's very pretty. It's not glossy. Honestly, I have gotten past saying I love a gloss. I almost require one. Like I would not be comfortable, physically comfortable with my lips not having a gloss. It's just the way I am. So I'm gonna use my City Lips Clear. I'm not gonna go straight in from the wand because I don't wanna get any color on the wand. So I'm just gonna put a little bit on my hand and tap it on. And I just feel better with a gloss. But I do like that color. I don't know that I would love it if I would really cake it on, but that's just my personal preference. But the undertone is very pretty and I think goes with this look well. So finally, I'm gonna wrap up with a perfume. This is a decant, but you better believe it's on my wish list. I've had this for a while and I can't believe I haven't gotten through the decant, but this is another Andrea Mac fragrance. I have Pavilion. I've talked about that for ages. I love it. I love a lot of her fragrances. Pavilion is the only full size I have at this time. This is the newest one and it's called Gist. And it is right up my alley because it has rum and chocolate. It's got apple, plum, cardamom. Oh, it is going to shine in the fall. Got musk, vanilla, and ambroxan. I personally don't smell a ton of the ambroxan. I know a lot of people get turned off by that. Oh my word. I smell the rum. I smell a little bit of the chocolate. It also has heliotrope in it, which gives it a slight powderiness. The cardamom, I smell it all and I love it all. I love this. And it will be my next full-size Andrea Mac for sure. It'd be hard to compare it to Pavilion, saying which one I love more because they are so different, but this is beautiful. That's it. That is the Shop My Stash look. Hopefully you enjoyed it. As always, I will have all of my products that I use listed and linked down below. Be sure and like and subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day.